I've been training for 5 years now, and along this journey, I've had periods where I was growing consistently, and then I also had periods where I would continue training, and I would be training really hard, really intensely, going to the gym almost every day, and I wasn't actually making any progress at all. During these periods, I was doing what I thought at the right time was to be doing everything right. I was going to the gym 5, 6 days a week. I was training really hard for an hour to an hour and a half a day. But the reality was that I didn't actually understand some basic principles which I'm going to go over today. And so even though I was training consistently, I was hitting the gym all the time and I was putting in work, that's why I wasn't actually growing. So in this video, I'm going to go over some really key tips and steps to look for if you're currently someone who's like where I was a few years ago, where you're constantly hitting the gym, but you're not seeing any progress. So my first point is, are you sticking to a key set of exercises for a minimum of 12 weeks? The reason why this is so important is because so many people just go to the gym and they just pick whatever workout machine's free or whichever machine they feel like doing on that day. They load up the weight until it feels heavy, and then they push themselves until it feels like they've put in a good amount of work and they've done a good set, or they just go to failure. Now, the reason why this is an issue is because if you're not actually tracking your weights on the same exercises and seeing whether or not the weight is going up, then you're not building any muscle and you don't know if you've actually progressively overloaded and if your strength has actually improved. So the only way that you can ensure that you're consistently making strength gains in the gym and you're hitting PRs is if you just pick a key set of exercises which are going to give you that physique that you want and then stick to them for a period of say 12 to 14 weeks. Therefore, this is going to give you the data that you need where you can see exactly the weights that you lifted for how many reps last week, and then you can have the goal in mind to beat it the next week. Whereas if you keep chopping and changing up your routine, changing exercises, then you're actually not going to know if you're consistently increasing the amount of load and the amount of stress that your muscles are under. And this is really important because strength and muscle growth go hand in hand. If you're increasing the amount of strength that you have and the amount of stress your muscles are under, this is going to cause the stimulus to set the growth mechanism into motion so that you can come back stronger and build more muscle. So this is the first key point. Just make sure that you're not changing up the routine. You have a set of exercises and you're constantly trying to improve and progressively overload on these exercises. So the next point is what you do outside of the gym is just as important as what you're doing inside the gym. So this is why it's really important to make sure that you're eating in a slight calorie surplus. If you're eating in a deficit, then your body isn't getting enough calories in to actually support that muscle growth and to support and build that new tissue for you to build more muscle. So this is a really important point because if you're under eating chronically, then your body's going to be in a stressful state often a lot more of the time, and you're not actually giving your body the nutritional value that it needs to actually build muscle and to come back stronger. So I highly recommend just make sure that you're eating in a slight calorie surplus of about 1 to 200 additional calories per day. And make sure that, and around this, you're hitting your protein. So a lot of research has shown that 0.6 to 0.8 grams per pound of body weight is a sufficient amount of protein. This is really going to help support that rebuild of the muscle and actually help your muscle growth if you hit protein. And then I also recommend having a balance of fats and carbs in there as well, so that your fats are going to really help support your testosterone production, and your carbs are also really important to fuel your workouts. So a lot of people make the mistake of going too high on protein and dropping either carbs or fat. And if you do this, your hormones are going to suffer, your energy is going to suffer significantly, and you're just going to have less fuel and you're going to be less motivated for your workouts. So therefore your performance is going to take a hit. My next point is to do with rest and recovery. And a lot of this comes down to sleep and your stress levels. So if you're someone who's currently working out consistently and you're not seeing results, one of the first questions I'd ask you is, how's your sleep quality? Are you getting consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night? And are you sleeping at the same time each and every night? The reason why this is so important is because a huge amount of your testosterone and your muscle growth happens during sleep. This is really where all of that growth happens. It's also really essential for mitochondria activation, for your mood, for your energy, and overall, if you get a really good night's rest, you're going to find that the next day, putting in effort actually feels good. You're going to actually have the energy and motivation to support that work rate in the gym, and you're going to actually want to go to the gym. And I've found that on days where I get a really bad night's sleep, I just feel like not really doing anything because I don't have that energy, because I haven't gone through that proper recovery process. So sleep is one of the most important aspects when it comes to muscle growth. This is really where you actually build up that muscle tissue and where your body fully recovers. So I'd highly recommend getting 7 to 9 hours sleep every single night, doing it at the same time as well. If you keep changing your bedtimes like a lot of people do on weekends outside of their 9 to 5, this is really going to mess up your circadian rhythm and your sleep quality is going to take a hit, which is going to lead to your testosterone and your muscle growth dropping. So the next point is around stress. When you're outside of the gym, it's really important that your body is in a state of rest and recover, and your nervous system is in a relaxed state. This is really going to be beneficial for you if you want to actually build up that muscle tissue. If you're always in a state of fight or flight and your cortisol levels are high because you're too stressed, which can be from doing heavy cardiovascular activities, from stress at work, etc., then your body's actually not going to recover as well. It's going to take a lot longer to recover, and this is going to take a hit in terms of your muscle growth. So it's really important to manage your stress levels outside of the gym. I highly recommend keeping cardio to either walking or zone 2 cardio, which is going to create a very low amount of cortisol and it's still easy to recover from, and it's not going to affect your gym progress. So it's just about being smart outside the gym. So the last point is, you might actually be training too frequently. A lot of people who are doing the right things, and if you're eating enough calories, you're sleeping well, your stress levels are good, and you're tracking your progress, but your progress isn't going up, it might just be because you're training when you haven't actually fully recovered. So this is where deload weeks can come in. A lot of times, all people need is to just take a whole week off the gym. This is going to give your nervous system and your body and your muscles a whole week to just fully recover. And then when you come back to the gym, a lot of times after having that full week off, you'll find that you're actually a lot stronger and your ability to move the weight is just going to increase drastically. The reason for this is because central nervous system fatigue is going to affect your motor unit recruitment and your ability to actually recruit type 2 muscle fibers. So if you're consistently working out all the time, then your nervous system is going to be fried and it's just going to compromise your strength, which means that you're not going to make any muscle growth. So this is why I only train 3 days per week and have a day of rest at least in between each day. This just gives your nervous system time to actually fully recover so that you're only really hitting the muscle groups and you're only working out when your body is actually fully recovered. This is where I really found that my strength started to take off and I started to get rid of any plateau I was stuck on. It's just giving your body enough time to actually go through the recovery process so that you can come back stronger. So a really key point is you might just be training far too frequently and your volume might be too high. So I found personally deload weeks really help, and also just looking into your training frequently. If you're training more than 3 to 4 days a week as a natural, this is way too much stimulus on your nervous system and your ability to come back and get stronger is going to be compromised. So that's my last key point. Just make sure that your training frequency isn't too high and you can actually rest and recover so that you're fresh when you're hitting the gym. So that's my guide as to why you might be training consistently and still not making any progress. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one and let me know what you think in the comments below.